When you think about world-ending catastrophes, you probably picture asteroids, supervolcanoes, or maybe nuclear war for today. But 49 million years ago, a tiny floating fern pulled off what might be the single most catastrophic act of biological terraforming in Earth's history. This little plant, smaller than a dime, literally froze the planet, and I mean literally. Picture Earth 49 million years ago. There's palm trees growing in Alaska, crocodiles swimming in the Arctic Ocean. The whole planet is basically a steamy greenhouse. There is no ice anywhere. The Arctic Ocean is basically a giant warm bathtub cut off from other oceans by the arrangement of continents. Now, here is where it gets weird. What happens when you have a warm, isolated ocean basin with rivers pouring fresh water into it? You get layers. Fresh water on top, salty water below, zero mixing. Like oil and water, but with water and saltier water. Scientists call this stratification, but you can think of it as the world's largest unmixed cocktail. This is not your typical fern that needs soil and shade. Azolla is an aquatic fern that floats on the surface, and it has a superpower. It doesn't need to pull nitrogen from the soil like other plants. It's got these tiny pockets in its leaves that house cyanobacteria. Basically, it carries its own fertilizer factory. While other plants are struggling to find nutrients, Azolla is self-sufficient. And in the Arctic Ocean, these were perfect conditions for this plant. Fresh water to float in, warm temperatures, long summer days with 24-hour sunlight. All the stars were aligned. Azolla went absolutely crazy. And when I say crazy, I mean it covered the entire Arctic Ocean. We are talking about 4 million square kilometers, roughly half the size of the United States, turned into a solid carpet of fern. If I teleported you there, you might think you were looking at a weirdly flat prairie. Except it's not grass. It's a floating plant mat so thick something could probably walk on it. I mean, you'd think, but you get the idea. For 800,000 years, this green carpet persisted. Each generation of Azolla would bloom across the surface, then die and sink into the oxygen-poor depths where it couldn't decompose properly, layer after layer after layer. Now, here's the kicker. Plants eat carbon dioxide. It's literally what they're made of, carbon grabbed right out of the air. And Azolla was pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Over the course of the Azolla event, atmospheric carbon dioxide dropped from 3,600 to 650 ppm. This little fern pulled roughly 4 trillion tons of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. I need you to sit with that for a second. That's nearly all the carbon in our atmosphere today, locked away in dead fern bodies at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. It's like if every car, plane, factory and cow on Earth suddenly vanished, and then we also invented massive machines to suck carbon out of the air. The planet cooled, and I mean a lot. Palm trees in Alaska, dead. For the first time in hundreds of millions of years, ice began forming at the poles. The greenhouse Earth was over. The icehouse Earth, the one we're still in today, had begun. The temperature drop wasn't gradual. It was more like Earth's thermostat got knocked off the wall. The Arctic went from palm trees and crocodiles to starting to look a bit more like the Arctic we know. Ice began forming at the poles for the first time in millions of years. Antarctica, which had been ice-free and covered in forests, started developing the ice sheet that's still there today. But it wasn't just the poles. The whole planet cooled down. Those nice tropical conditions that had existed pretty much everywhere, gone. Seasonal variations become more extreme. Deserts expanded, forests retreated. The warm, stable Eocene paradise was over, replaced by a cooler, harsher world that will eventually lead to the ice ages that gave us mammoths and, us. And all because of a tiny floating fern that got a little too enthusiastic. So, what does a 49 million year old fern apocalypse have to do with us today? More than you might think. Some folks have looked at the Azolla event and thought if a plant could cool the planet once, maybe we could use it to fight climate change. There are actual proposals to grow massive amounts of Azolla to suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. But here's the thing. The Azolla event worked because of a perfect storm of conditions that we can't replicate. We don't have a landlocked, stratified, freshwater ocean anymore. And even if we did, would we really want to trigger that kind of dramatic climate shift? The Azolla event didn't just cool things down a bit. It fundamentally changed Earth's entire climate system. Plus, there is another fun fact about Azolla. In many places today, it's considered an invasive species that can completely take over waterways. The Azolla event remains one of the most dramatic examples of how life can completely reshape our planet. A tiny fern that most people would mistake for pond scum managed to end a 200 million year greenhouse period and usher in the age of ice that shaped human evolution.